Okay, good evening, Rabbi. Maharal. This week's Parshas Chayei. Appropriately, since the Olam is learning Baba Basra, we can chaparain and do something that includes this week's Parshas HaShavua and also Masechtas Baba Basra. The Gemara tells us a fascinating story. Rev Banai Havakam Mitzayin Ma'arta. Rev Banai, Gemara Baba Basra, Daf Nun Chesam and Aleph. He took it upon himself to measure graves. The Parsha pshat in the Gemara was, this way people who were tahar, who were pure, were able to steer clear from any tumah. This way, when he made a demarcation, he was able to be mitzayin, right? To avekshtal, where there's a caver, this way nobody would become tumah. Ki moto lema'arta de Avram. He went to Maras HaMachpelah. He came to the Ma'ora of Avram Avinu. The Gemara says he found Eliezer standing there. We spoke about this in Zera Shimshon Abisala. He saw Avram in Sarah. And Gane Avram bekanfa de Sarah b'mayim be'beroisha. He was laying in her arms, and she's looking in his head. This we'll have to talk about a different time. Today's Zera Shimshon is going to discuss, Maharal is going to discuss Adam HaRishon. Adam HaRishon and why this was the place that the Avos HaKadoshim and the Mois were buried. What is so special about Ma'aras? What's Titzach do? What's going on in this place? Zuk the Gemara. Nafak, he left that cave. Kimoto lema'arta de Adam HaRishon. He came to the area of where Adam HaRishon was. Yotzis a Baskol came out and said, Amra, nistakalta bidmus diyukni. You looked at the dmus, at the form of my diyukni, of my presence. Diyukni atzmoi, meaning I let you see Avram Avinu. But to see Adam HaRishon, which is diyukni atzmoi, al tistakel, you cannot look at him. As big as you think Avram Avinu is, and as much as we know Avram was misaken, aber sekimt nicht see Adam HaRishon. That's called demusti. That's the yuknoi. It's not just the demus, the form. So Rev Banoi said back to the Baskoil, I need to measure. I have to measure. Hat gesagt, kemidas chitzoina kachmidas penimis. The way it is on the outside is the way it is on the inside. You don't have to go inside. You can measure from the outside and you'll know exactly what's on the inside. V'lamanda omar shnei botem zulamala mezu kemidas alyoina kachmidas tachtoina. Says the Gemara, Amar Abanoi, nistakalti b'shnei akayvav. I looked at his two heels. At the heels, I couldn't see Adam HaRishon. I was not allowed to. Hashem didn't let me. Instead, I looked at his heels. Doimim l'shnei galgalei chama. They were like two balls of sun. The heel is the lowest part of the body. It's where the dead meat is. The heel of a person, my Rebbe Zechron Levrochet gezukt. The cup is the highest part of a person. That's the place where a person's seichel is, that's where a person is, that's why it's the rosh. The bottom is the most dead part of a person, where the nochash has a koyach by the akevav. Below the akevav is noch lower than that. The lowest part of Adam HaRishon is givein azovi shnei galgalei chama, or mamish. That's how far, that's how removed and how kadosh Adam HaRishon was, and he couldn't, therefore, that's just an idea. Hakol says then, bifnei sarah kekoif bifnei Adam. Every person if you want to compare a human being to Sarah, if Sarah is a human being, then all people are like monkeys. The Sarah and Sarah bifnei Chava kikoif bifnei Adam. And Sarah is like a koif, like a monkey compared to Adam, to Chava. The Chava b'fnei Adam kikoif b'fnei Adam. And Chava to Adam is azoi v'akoif. What's tutzach though? What's this measuring? Maharal zokt azoi. You have it in front of you. Maharal zokt azoi. The concept of measuring is not just physically where they are. It's the capacity of the human being. Capacity means to say, viful a mensch, what the person accomplished in his lifetime. Kol zman a person is alive, he's called a hoylech. He's going. And you can never touch up, and you can never measure a menschen wie lang geht. I'm still going, I'm still moving, I'm still living, I'm still either going up or you're still chulila going down. But once a person has finished his job, melek tamaran in the ground, we put him into the ground, now, vus is it? What did he do? What didn't he do? What could he have done? What didn't he end up doing? Now let's measure him. Now we measure him. I once heard a gavaldik about my uncle, Scheiner just passed away. He was a person, the Gemara says, Kol haroidef achar kovod. If you run after kovod, the kovod runs away from you. The kol haroidef, a person runs away from kovod, is the kovod loif dem noch. How do you find out via menches? So I heard from Rabbi Tzvi Cheshen when he came to visit, when he came to Menachem Oval in Eretz Yisrael, he said, look at what happens at a person's levaya. A person's levaya can't shine a shleifim. He can't run anymore. You have some people, they were very popular and very wealthy and this, and by the levaya, there's nobody there. Sitzach gemacht, it was a Friday, it was a this, it was a that. Who came? It was empty. And sometimes you'll have a levaya, you have hundreds of people there. There, he can't run away. Then, when you're shlick darten, now you'll see where is the mechubed and who's the not mechubed. Look at what happens at a person's levaya. And he can't run away anymore. You can get an indication of what the person was like. Rav Banoi came upzetaichen, the Oveis HaKadoshim. He was measuring the Oveis, means what did the Oveis accomplish? Measuring Adam and Chava, measuring the means to say, vos zen ze gevein. Let's learn a Bissel Maharal over here. V'omar. In the first column, you'll see I underlined it. Kimata lepischa, he came to the Pesach of Adam Arishan. Asher nivra b'tselem Elokim. Adam was created in the image of Hashem. Legamri. Yoiser mikol Adam. V'hoyaloi histaklus boy yizbarach masha osir la'adam. Looking at Adam Harishon would etvas ma be looking at the Rabbi Shalom. Kaviyachol. I'll explain. Everything in the world was created by Hashem. When you look at the mountains, you look at the oceans, aren't they created by the Rabbi Shalom? 100%. Everything is mais, right? Everything is b'dvar Hashem shemayim nasu b'ruach piv kol tzom. Everything is b'shafim b'dei b'shter. But nothing in the Bria does it say vayipach ba'apov nishmas chayim. Man de nofach midelei nofach. In English, that means to say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu breathed into his nostrils, like CPR, the breath of life. And the man became vayipach ba'apov nishmas vayiyah adam lenefesh chaya. Man de nofach, steht in Chazal, when you blow from inside yourself. If Kaviyachol, the Rebbeinu Shalom, was putting a life into the human being, Kadosh Baruch Hu put the eigene neshima, is why it's called the neshama. The neshama is the neshima of the Rabbeinu Shalom. The name neshama is because it's a neshima, which means to say that body which had the neshama put into it, had it not eaten from the Eitz Hadas Toiv Ra, would have lived forever. It wasn't a gashmiistic body the way you and I know gashmias. Because if it's a type of body that nitzchias is connected with, didn't need any clothing, it was totally fused to that neshama. You want to know the difference, right, of a body that has a neshama that doesn't have a neshama. If you've ever seen a person, lo yaleinu, after he passed away, if you've ever seen a corpse, the face has a dead look to it. The glance and the shine that there is of a lebedika person, the shine, the glow, like a coal that glows, the coal that glows. So there's a shine to it. When a person's alive and the neshama is there, so the neshama on the point of the face, you could see that the face, I feel shluft, I feel is krank, even if he's sick, if he's sleeping, but there's a neshama there. When a person's nifter, a minute later, the face is blank. That's it. The glow is gone, the neshama shaynish darten. The glow in the coal is not there. The more neshama, the more the glow. The Gemara says, the Torah Kedosha says, when Moshe Rabbeinu came down from the mountain, they were scared to look at him. Why? Ki koran or panav. His face was shining. When Moshe Rabbeinu, when he came to Klal Yisrael, he had to put on a mask. They were pushed, scared to talk to him. Favus, because his neshama was shining through his body to such an extent that the pshat is that the body became illuminated. Or Aleph Vuv Raish, or, and or, hot, skin, ayin Vav Reish. Or mit an Aleph and or mit an ayin. Adam Arishon Koidem Achet was or the ganze Gufe gewein or mamish mit an Aleph. Nuch de Chet, and he realized he had to cover up his body because it was or mit an ayin. Klape, what Adam Arishon was before, as I state in Shlo. Klape, what Adam Arishon was before the Chet, and Klape, what Adam Arishon became after the Chet. Take a light bulb. You see the light bulb is on, and shut off the light. So you see the bulb. That's the or with an ayin. Turn the light bulb on, you don't see the bulb, you just see the light that comes out of it. Now, shtel zechfur, think about this. Adam's tu akeva for Rav Benoi was like shnei galgal chama. Even after the sin, when there's noch a liknach in the ground, when he's in the ground, even that is noch ar. You know why? Because he was created vayipach be'apav nishmas chayim. Nobody else was ever created like that. Everybody else comes from a chibur of a man and a woman, and they create the guf. And then al yedei the Rabbi Shalom, like the Gemara says, shloisha shut from Adam, and the Rabbi Shalom puts into the neshama. Not by Adam. Adam made the guf, the Rabbi Shalom made the guf, and the Rabbi Shalom made the neshama. He made both of them together. That was Yitzir Kappa, the Rabbi Shalom created himself. Says the Maharal, when you're looking at Adam Harishon, you're looking at what HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself put into him. That's almost like looking at the Rabbeinu Shalom. It's the closest thing to the Rabbeinu Shalom. The Medrash says that when Adam Harishon was first created, the Malachim were they wanted to bring him karbanas and say, Yibis the Bashefer. So he stated in Medrash. The poison that the Goyim, Oisei Ha'ish, that they said as Yena, right? Yena, Yemach Shemoi, right? Where do you think they get that tumah from? Because when Adam Arishon, who was Yitzir Kap of the Rabbeinu Shalom, he was so much Azovi Kaviyochel. Look, the Malachim already made a mistake. Adam Arishon Koidem Achet, the Malachim Nishkeken Chapim the Koyach of Adam Arishon. Says the Maharal, Chava was a darg. The Gemara says one darg, like a monkey to a person. The difference, Darwin thinks that the monkeys and the people have a shaykhis. Like a monkey to a person, that was Chava to Adam. Listen to him. Listen what Asher. This part is underlined. Ki motol asher nivra b'tzelem alekim legamri. Yoiser mikol Adam. No other person has ever been created with the tzelem alekim the way Adam Arishan was. That's like Kilo Yirani Adam V'chai. Mekanish kicking of Bashefer, looking at the Kadosh Baruch Hu's Bria of Adam Arishon that was created by Vayipach Ba'ap of Nishmas Chayim. Klape, the darga that we're on, is Kaviyachol looking at the handiwork of Hashem. That's already like you're starting to look at the Rabbi Shalom. Masha Osir La'Adam. Just like you can't look at Hashem because you have no shittuf, no shutfis, no connection, no partnership. Ein la'adam chibur v'istaklis ba'adam arishon asher nivra b'tzalma yizbarach, which was created b'tzelem alekim. V'lachein, Pasko yoytza, Avram Avinu, it state Adam Hagadol Ba'anokim. Avram Avinu state that he brought back the Tzuras of Adam to the world. Takazoi. Avram Avinu was Ramach. Avraham, Gematria Reish Memches 248, the number of bones that make up a human body. Avram Avinu was Taka Misake in the Tzuras. He got a bris milah. B'tzelem alekim asa Adam. B'tzelem alekim was with a bris milah. Tzeb Adam Arishain had no Orlo when he was created. The Orlo only came afterwards. As I state in Novis Debnosen, Adam Arishain was created without an Orlo. Umaltem as Orlas Levavchem, all of this Orlo, to be fashed up, to be covered over, to have a klipa, to have something on top of a person, whether it's Gashmias or Ruchnias. All of that is a part of the guf. Avram was successful in removing that, and therefore Avram went from Avram to Avram, and he was Masakil Tzuras Adam. But it was only still one removed. It wasn't let the Adam Harishon. That's why the Gemara says, Nistakalta b'demus diyukni, with the demus, the form, but b'diyukni atzmai al tistakel. Koloimer, says the Maharal, ki lo yofo asisa listaka b'demus diyukni. Shu korav el Hashem Yisbarach. It wasn't so good that you looked at Avram. Obedei Sanoch, that's still only the demus, the form. B'diyuk li'atzmi al tistakel, mishenata yochel istakel. She'im hoyelocha efshel istakel, yisha gam kemasai, but you can't. So what does he want? V'hodam in be'inin l'tzayin ma'arta. Now pay attention. Moishala. Kiloimar. Chayei shli lamoid al amitas madregas b'nei Adam ba'olam. The idea of measuring is I want to fashteh, I want to understand. I would like to be able to touch up, to ascertain, to decide, to see what the madreg of a person is. The Amar, and the answer was Kimidas chitzoyne kachmidas hapnimis. What does that mean? The outside is like the inside. You know what that means? Says the Maharal. Now this is cut off over there. It's cut off by you. I apologize. I'm reading it to you. Avram, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov, kulam heim avos. Each, when it says the outside was like the inside, means they reached their full potential. Like you said last year, they did their job. The outside is like the inside, means to say Avram accomplished what Avram Avinu had to accomplish. Yitzchak accomplished what he had to accomplish, and so did. You know what they did? They were metaking the Tzuras Adam. They were metaking the Tzuras Adam. Ad kedei kach that the Gemara over there says Yaakov Avinu shufra de Yaakov mein shufra de Adam. The shine of Yaakov Avinu was already like the shine of Adam Arishon. The side of Shufra de Yaakov came Shufra de Adam, that Yaakov Avinu looked like Adam from before the Chet, is when he has a dream after being in Shem ve'ever for 14 years, Vayishka b'layla, he never went to sleep for 14 years. It's charangelagt in Torah, after he came, after all the years of what he went through, and then Eliphaz came and took everything away from him. So how did he look? Ishkat kan kleider, as every Adam Arishan, koydem achet. And then he went to sleep. He had to put some stones around him. And the stones fused together. And they became like one stone. Right? And then he dreamed, and there was a ladder. And Malachai Elikim Oilim V'Yordim Boy, steht in the Torah. Zok the Rashi. They were looking down, they saw a face. They went up, and the Kisak covered, they saw a face. Oilim V'Yordim, look, the Malachim are going. So the Zelba Mensch. The face here is the face there. That means that all of the neshamas and all of the yidden that are going to be born stam from this face. Just like Adam Arishon is koilel every Adam in the world, every Adam, none of us would be here if we're not somewhere potentially an Adam. The Greiskeit of Adam is that it's one man that was the potential of all of humanity, but that also included humanity of people that could look like monkeys too. Humanity of negative people. Yaakov Avinu is the Adam Harishon of Shufra. Shufra means the shinekite. He's already the nice Adam Harishon. He's already the Adam Harishon, which Yisrael, the refined Adam Harishon. The Malachim are seeing the face of Adam Harishon, Ki'ilu, of Yaakov Avinu al Kisei HaKavod in Yenevelt, and they're seeing it over here. What they're seeing is how he took the Akev, and he put a little Yudale, which is one of the names of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and was mislabesh the Yud of an Akev. So he went from Yaakov to Yisrael, Li Roish, to the person who's, and now I became the head. When he takes away Esav's head and he's misakim. We'll learn about that, Be'ezus Hashem. Yaakov Avinu was zoicha through his avodah, that the malachim, what the malachim thought of by Adam Arishon, right? Malach Elikim Oilim V'Yordim Boy, meaning to say he now decides welche malachim are going to go up. He decides which malachim are going to go down, because all of the avodah of the Welt is Tali and Em. What were they doing here, the others? So I'll share with you. We spoke about it in the past. We'll go overtime for 2-3 minutes. In Zohar HaKadosh state, when Avram Avinu came to this place, how did he get here? So the Zohar HaKadosh says that when the Bakar Rotz Avram, when he ran to get the Bakar ran into the Maras HaMachpelah. And he came in, and he went into the dark place, and he saw that there was a light. Lama Bacha Avram b'Maras HaMachpelah. Rav Yehuda, Avram Yoda Bahu Ma'arta Simona, V'libei Reusei Tamon Hav, and his heart was there. Okay? Because when it says V'laboka Rotz Avram, the Boka ran there. Shteit Azoi. When Avram Avinu came to bury Sarah, Heichol, the rod Basrehu Egla, V'laboka Rotz Avram, Ol Bey, he went inside, Choma Maida Choma, he saw what he saw. Tochazei, Kad Ol Avram b'Ma'arta b'Kadmosu, when he went in the first time, Choma Tamon Nahira, he saw a light. Israme Afrikameo, the Gezaim Ufar, is Galilee Trey Kivrin, 2 graves became revealed. Adahochi istakalas Adam b'diyukne v'chomelei Avram v'chiech. Adam saw Avraham and smiled. Ubei Yoda Avram the Taman Uzamen Iskabra. This is where I have to be buried. Shteit Azoi. Reb Shimon. B'shata de'ol Avram b'ma'arta v'ol Sorei Teman. When he brought Soret there, Heintig Avach Sedra, Kamu Odom v'chabla v'loi kiblu l'skavra Taman. They got up and they didn't want to be buried there anymore. Amru, ma anan bekisufa means embarrassment. Kame kutsha berichi ba'u alma. Ba'in choyve de garimna. We are embarrassed because of the mistake that we made. Now, hashta yisvasav lang sufa achra. Mekama uvdin toivin de bechu. You have such gita masim toivim, Avram and Sarah. We have embarrassment because of the Aveira. Now you're coming to live over here, you're going to lay down over here. We're even more embarrassed. Adam and Chava said, you're coming, we're out. I'm ready to daven the leitichsev kamela omen. You're never going to, you should no longer be embarrassed. Miyad v'achakach cover Avram es Sarah. As the Zohar, my va'achar kach. If you look in the Chumash, it says va'achrei kain cover Avram es Sarah. My va'achrei kain, the Torah, nuchtem. You can write va'achrei kain in the Torah every time. Next posuk va'achrei kain, next time va'achrei kain this, va'achrei kain that. Vushtait va'achrei kain cover Avram es Sarah. Sarah ishtai, my es Sarah. Zuk the Zohar HaKudosh. He put Adam Rishon back inside, and then Adam went in, but Sarah he wasn't really to Bekava because she ate. So therefore he davened, he said, and he took Sarah and put the Chava in too. Then he put in, after he put Va'achrei Kain, he buried Adam and Chava, then he buried Sarah. The Zohar HaKudosh says, you think Avram buried one person, he buried three people. Vushtaiten them. The Zohar in Zohar Chodesh and Rus writes that the derech to Gan Eden is through the Maras HaMachpelah. That's the derech to Gan Eden. When Adam and Chava were first created, they were living in Gan Eden. But after they sinned, they were kicked out. Right? Why was Sarah buried here? The Pesach to Gan Eden. The teretz is because Sarah and Avram and the Avos and the Imois lived such a good life that if not for Adam, they would have made it into Gan Eden. They stopped them from getting in. So Adam and Chava zenegevein in a weinig, and they were thrown out. Avram, Sarah, Yitzchak, Rivka, Yaakov, Leah, Rachel, they were on the outside of Zagai and Aran, right? Says the Gemara that up until Avram Avinu Perkei Yoves, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to give Gan Eden Olam Haba. The world wasn't interested. Who was the first person who was Zoicha to be Mekabel Olam Haba? Avram Avinu. Asara Daris Munayachad Avram Achaba Avram Bekibel Schar Kulam. Steht in the Mishnah, Perkei Yoves, Perek Chayei, Mishnah, Beis was Kibel Schar Kulam, the ganze Schar. The erste Mensch who was buried for the purpose to wake up and get the Schar was Sarah Imenu. Up until Sarah Imenu, everybody who was buried wasn't getting Olam Haba. We say it in Yiddish, weggeworfen. That's it, you're finished, go to the grave, go in there. Sarah hat man weggelegt. They didn't throw her away, they put her away. Sarah's put away so she should get up for Tchias HaMesim. When Adam and Chava were first put into the ground in Maras HaMachpelah, they were inside and they went outside. Zai hat man herausgeworfen. They were weggelegt. They were put away. They were thrown away. Sarah was put away. Sarah was put away for the future. Steht in Zohar HaKudosh. Avram Avinu was not just Mesakin burial for Sarah. Adam and Chava got buried Soradik. Whoever buried them the first time, they weren't being buried to be put away for the next world. Aber when Avram lake Tarain, Sarah in the ground, he's putting her in, Bas Chov, Kebas Meya, says Nishkanzin, she's going to be Oimed B'tchias HaMesim. It's the first time in the history of the world that somebody is being put into the ground, Nicht avegeworfen, avegelegt. Adam and Chava were zoicha to be avegelekt with Sarah Imenu. Va'achar kach kovar Avram es Sarah. The type of kvura which was nischadish al yedei Sarah imenu, al yedei Avram, was legt avek Sarah. They sot Adam and Chava nish gehad. They didn't have that, but they got it now. Now they got it. Va'achar kach. Und nachdem, wenn schon maskim gewesen, that Adam was maskim, that Avram soll weglegen. Only Avram, Eile Toildois Shamayim Va'oretz. Who are the Toldos Shamayim Va'oretz? State in Chazal, Adam and Chava. They're the two Toldos Shamayim Va'oretz. Behiboram, through Avram Avinu, Behiboram Hotem Mitakin giving Toldos Shamayim Va'oretz. The Toldos Shamayim Va'oretz are able to be avegelegt. The Chiddush in Ma'aras HaMachpelah and the Chiddush in the Kvura of Sarah is Yed Yid when he's nifter. It's not over yet. It's just the beginning. It's going to be a process. It'll be a fall. What has to disintegrate will disintegrate. What doesn't have to won't. And then will come a Tchias HaMesim, which that's going to be a Eibik. Who was buried that way? The Ershna is given Surah. Avram was able to do it. Zukta Zayir HaKadosh. Not only did he do it for Sarah, he did it also for Adam and Chava. That's the soid of us state in the Zoyar, that they got up and were reburied again. Dafka Yidei Avram Avinu. That's what happened. So the Avos were misakein. They were misakein the ganze Tzuras Adam. That's why Adam and Chava, who were in Gan Eden, are buried here. And Avram and Sarah and Yitzchak and Rivka and Yaakov and Leah, who are the tikkun of Adam and Chava. Atem kriyim Adam. Atem ve'ein umas ha'olam kriyim Adam. So this is a mokim burial of mention. And these are the Yesod, the Avos ha'olam. This is where they were buried. Okay, Rabbi Say.